There's a tech billionaire getting blood transfusions from his teenage son, people swallowing 100 pills a day, spending thousands on gadgets, trackers, and hyperbaric chambers, all chasing longevity.
It's honestly getting absurd. I mean, people are now swallowing crapsules. Literally, athletes poop in a pill to improve physical performance, metabolism, and gut health. We are so desperate for a shortcut that we are willing to ingest crap.
We are ingesting other people's waste, when really the obstacle to longevity is our own waste. The idea of more is better is really at the root of the problem, when in fact, longevity and regeneration are achieved by doing much less.
I think we just upset the entire biohacking community in under 60 seconds.
Good, because today we are ruffling feathers to reveal why your optimization obsession is actually a band-aid, masking deeper problems. And many of the hacks are actually harmful. And stick around, because by the end of this hour, I am going to show you how to read your own internal toxicity just by looking in a mirror. Your eye color might not even be what you think it is. Welcome back to Unconditioned Health by Holistika. I am your host, Katya, and I am here with my co-host, Alex. Today, we're taking on the entire biohacking industry. Hundreds of supplements, thousands of dollars in gadgets, blood transfusions from teenagers, all in the name of longevity. But what if I told you everything they're selling is built on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the body actually heals?
All right, I'm intrigued. But I'll be honest, I've gone down the biohacking rabbit hole myself. The red light panel, the cold plunges, the supplements, the sleep tracking, and some of it has helped.
Oh, absolutely. But here's the issue. Most biohacks don't go deep enough to regenerate the body and can actually age you faster. Many are band-aids. They mask symptoms instead of addressing what's actually causing them. This is a treatment-based mindset that we need to shift away from.
So what's the alternative to a treatment-based mindset? What should we actually be focusing on?
That's what we're diving into today. And I promise you, by the end of this episode, you're going to look at health completely differently. We are going to talk about why your lymphatic system matters more than your blood work. We will discuss why the eyes are the most powerful diagnostic tool you have, and we will reveal why the foods you have been told are healthy might be the very things keeping you sick or aging you faster.
You're also going to tell me why my protein shake is a problem, aren't you?
We'll get there. But first, we need to lay some groundwork.
Okay, I'm sitting here with my magnesium stack and my pre-workout, so you need to convince me why I'm wasting my money.
Because it's all built on a false premise. The idea that your body is some flawed machine, and if we just jam enough supplements into it or track enough biomarkers, we can crack the code.
And that's not how it works?
No, here's the fundamental concept that changes everything. Your body is already a self-healing organism. Right now, as we're talking, your cells are repairing damage, eliminating waste, restoring balance. You don't need to hack that. It's already happening.
So why doesn't everyone feel amazing then?
Well, we should. But the problem is this innate ability for regeneration gets buried under a lifetime of, well, junk, intoxication, both physical and mental. It's like having the world's best computer and then filling it with so much junk that it can barely boot up. So health isn't about adding more to an already overwhelmed system. It's about cleaning the hard drive so the original program can run properly.
So then I just need to delete some files?
Exactly. Clean out the system. And I'm telling you, the levels of health you can reach just by removing the waste, it's wild. But everyone's out here trying to install new software when they haven't emptied the trash in years.
Okay, so what is this junk? What's clogging up my internal hard drive?
It's the accumulation of waste and acids. Externally, this comes from the foods you eat, the air you breathe, the chemicals on your skin. Modern diets especially introduce a massive amount of acid-forming chemistry into a body that's designed to be alkaline. And internally, your cells produce waste just by doing their daily work.
Right, acid, alkaline. I remember that from high school chemistry.
So you know the basics. Acids are corrosive and inflammatory. Alkaline chemistry is hydrating and anti-inflammatory. When our internal environment becomes too acidic from all that waste, we get what's called systemic acidosis. And that is the root cause of so many symptoms, Fatigue, tumors, inflammation, joint pain, skin issues, brain fog, they're not separate problems. They're all signs that the body's waste sewage system is backed up.
A sewer system. You're talking about more than just, going to the bathroom.
So much more. I'm talking about the system that most biohackers and even most doctors completely ignore. It's your body's internal sewer, the lymphatic system.
The lymphatic system. I've heard of it. Like you get swollen lymph nodes when you're sick. That's about all I know.
That's more than most people. But get this, it makes up roughly 80% of the fluid in your body. But all our attention goes to the blood. We are so obsessed with blood tests. But the blood is only about 20% of your body's total fluid volume. The lymphatic system is this vast network of vessels and nodes that collects all that cellular waste I was talking about. It's your immune system and your sewage system all in one.
80%? Wow. Okay, so how does it work?
Here's the best analogy. Think of your body like a house. You have a kitchen and you have a plumbing and sewer system. The blood is the kitchen. It delivers the groceries, the nutrients to your cells. But the lymphatic system, that's the sewer. It takes out all the trash.
So we have a sewer system inside us. Got it. And that trash has to go somewhere.
Exactly. It eliminates waste mainly through your kidneys, but also your skin and colon. But what happens if your toilet gets clogged in your home? The waste backs up, right? It creates a toxic, stagnant, smelly mess in your house.
That's a powerful point. Let's linger on that sewer analogy for a second. Okay, so if the lymphatic system is like your body's sewer and it gets backed up, what does that actually feel like? Like, what are the everyday signs?
That's a great question. So think about what happens when your toilet backs up and you keep trying to flush it. Eventually, it overflows, right? Water starts going everywhere, the bathroom gets damp, and if you leave it long enough, you'll get mold in the corners, the walls might get water damage, the whole room becomes this unhealthy environment.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Same thing in your body. When the lymphatic system backs up and waste has nowhere to go, it starts stagnating around cells. This is when some people get eczema, acne, psoriasis. Your skin is literally trying to push the overflow out because the normal drainage, the kidneys, are blocked.
So skin problems are really lymphatic problems.
Exactly. And then you've got the moldy corners of the bathroom, which in your body is fungal overgrowth, like candida. It's thriving in that stagnant environment. The stuffiness, that heavy air you can't think clearly in, that's brain fog.
That's such a visceral image.
Okay, I'll stop with the bathroom analogy, but you get the point. When lymph stagnates, it shows up everywhere because the lymphatic system is systemic. Joint stiffness and pain, chronic fatigue, cysts and tumors, boils, cellulite, premature aging, even autoimmune conditions.
Wow, so everything from acne to tumors is a sign of lymphatic stagnation?
Exactly. Different symptoms, same root cause. The location and severity just depends on your genetic weaknesses and how long the congestion has been building.
Up. So you have to clear the drains or sewer system before you can think about adding more to your system. I'm just thinking about all the things I took this morning. The protein powder, the multivitamins, the pre-workout stuff. And you're basically telling me I'm adding premium fuels into an engine that is completely clogged up with sludge.
Exactly. And until you clean out the sludge, the quality of the fuel doesn't really matter. In fact, adding more inputs, more stuff, might actually be making the congestion worse. And here's the thing. Most of those supplements are actually causing damage.
Wait, the supplements themselves are harmful?
A lot of them, yeah, but we will get into that in part 2. There's a lot to cover today. Let's go back to the sewer system, because that's really the foundation of understanding the root cause of most health conditions.
Okay, yeah, so what actually clogs the system? Is it just from eating acidic foods or?
Well, like I said, it's both external and internal. Externally, it's the foods we eat, the chemicals we breathe in, what we put on our skin. But internally, it's not just cellular activity, it's also your thoughts and feeling.
Wait, thoughts and feelings?
Yes. For example, stress and negative emotions weaken the adrenal glands. And since the adrenals sit on top of the kidneys, they directly control lymphatic filtration.
Maybe that explains why I always break out when work gets crazy?
Right. Because when kidney filtration slows down, your skin becomes the exit door for lymphatic waste. Breakouts, rashes, psoriasis, that's your body trying to push out what the kidneys can't handle. But stress does more than just affect filtration. It affects your entire autonomic nervous system. For your body to heal, it has to be in a parasympathetic state. Rest and digest. But most people are stuck in fight or flight all day, every day. On top of that, we're a society obsessed with stimulants, which also weaken the adrenals and keep you in a sympathetic state. Coffee, energy drinks, high protein diets.
So we could be taking the highest quality supplements in the world, but if we're in fight or flight mode, the body can't even heal.
Exactly. Your internal environment is just as important as your diet. You can eat a perfect alkaline diet or take the highest quality supplements, but if you're stressed all the time, you're still creating acidity and inflammation. Thoughts and feelings have chemistry too. They're either alkaline or acidic. Fear, anger, resentment, worry, these create acidic chemistry in the body. Love, gratitude, joy, these are alkaline.
Interesting. I never thought about emotions actually having a chemical effect on our bodies. So it's not just what you eat, it's what's eating you.
And love that. That's exactly right.
Okay, so you mentioned stimulants like energy drinks, which obviously aren't great. But what about coffee and high protein diets? These are popular tools biohackers use to optimize cognitive function, physical performance, and energy. What's the problem there?
I'm glad you brought that up because so many of these biohacks are stimulants. Stimulation never leads to regeneration. It actually does the opposite. What you stimulate, you weaken.
What do you mean by that?
Let's take coffee. It irritates the nervous system and forces your adrenal glands to release hormones and neurotransmitters like adrenaline and cortisol. You feel alert, you feel focused, but you're not creating energy. You're borrowing it
Borrowing it from where?
from your reserves. And when you do that day after day, year after year, you get what's called enervation, a complete depletion of nerve energy. You're literally weakening the very glands that are supposed to provide you with sustainable energy.
So that's why so many people feel like they can't function without their coffee.
Exactly. And it gets worse. Chronic fatigue, anxiety, brain fog, burnout, eventually tissue failure. And on top of all that, coffee is high in tannins, alkaloids, and acids that irritate and inflame your tissues, especially your kidneys.
So what's the alternative? How do we get energy without stimulants?
We don't want stimulated energy. We want dynamic energy. Real energy from healthy glands, fueled by living electric foods. It's completely different. Raw fruits and vegetables give you everything your body needs. Electrolytes, amino acids, electricity, vitamins, minerals, all in synergistic complexes your body actually knows how to use. There's no crash, no enervation, no depletion. Once you experience true dynamic energy, it's like nothing else. If you truly want to be more awake, alert, and focused, clean the waste out of your body first. Then regenerate your glands and nervous system. The levels of energy you can reach are unbelievable, and I'm speaking from experience.
Dynamic energy versus stimulated energy. That's a distinction I've never heard before. Everyone I know seems to be addicted to coffee.
And look at how exhausted everyone is. People can't sleep, can't focus without their coffee. They're anxious, burned out. And we think the answer is more stimulants?
Okay, but what about high protein diets? How is that a stimulant?
That's a huge topic, so let's leave that for part 2.
All right, I'll hold you to that. So we've talked about external factors like diet and chemicals, stimulants, and internal factors like stress and negative emotions. But what about the one thing people say they can't control? Genetics.
It's easy to regenerate genetics. Genetics are simply the memories of how a cell functions, passed down through your family tree. If your parents had weak adrenal glands, they passed that memory of weakness to you.
So it's not that disease runs in families, it's that weakness does.
Exactly. You don't inherit diseases. You inherit weaknesses in specific organs and glands. If you clean and strengthen those weak tissues, the disease never manifests.
So when someone says something like, oh, depression runs in my family, what does that actually mean?
Well, depression is often a signal that your body is failing to utilize calcium. Most people don't realize that calcium isn't just for bones. It's the primary mineral for nerve function and neurotransmission.
So when you're low in calcium, your nerves malfunction.
Exactly. Short-term calcium deficiency shows up as muscle cramping, a pounding heartbeat, loss of sleep, irritability, nervousness. Long-term, it leads to deep depression, bone loss, and connective tissue breakdown. So which gland do we look at? The parathyroid. Its primary function is to produce parathormone, the hormone responsible for calcium utilization. Without that hormone, you can consume all the calcium in the world and your body still can't use it.
So it's not that depression runs in your family, it's that a parathyroid weakness runs in your family.
Right. And here's the irony. People are often told to consume dairy for calcium, when in fact, pasteurized dairy is one of the main reasons for congestion of the parathyroid and thyroid gland, making it harder to utilize calcium. On top of that, when you pasteurize dairy, it becomes acidic, though the body has to leach calcium from your bones and connective tissue just to buffer those acids.
Wait, that's crazy. I've been told since I was a child to drink milk for strong bones and teeth.
I know, we've been conditioned to believe so many things that are actually the opposite of the truth.
It's frustrating because it's hard to know what to believe anymore. There's so much information out there and suddenly everyone is an expert. One day something's healthy, the next day it's toxic.
That's exactly why it's so important to learn some basics about how the body actually works. Just some simple chemistry, anatomy, and physiology. Your body is ultimately made up of cells and two fluids, blood and lymph. Chemistry has two sides, acid and alkaline. Once you understand how chemistry affects your cells and fluids, you can see through most of the confusion. You become your own filter. You don't need to rely on the next expert or trending diet.
Yeah, I think it's important to empower yourself with that knowledge. Okay, so let's talk more about depression and mental health because that's a big topic, especially in today's world.
I know. Depression rates in the US have increased by 60% in the last decade alone. 1 in 5 adults now has some form of mental illness. And the truth is, most mental health conditions are actually glandular weaknesses. So when the parathyroid is underactive, calcium utilization drops and you get depression. When the adrenal glands are weak, you get anxiety, and it's a spectrum. Mild shyness, introversion, apprehension, chronic worry, all the way to panic attacks and paralyzing fear. Even conditions like bipolar disorder and schizophrenia are manifestations of these glandular imbalances affecting calcium, serotonin, and neurotransmitters. We label them as mental illness, but they're really physiological.
That completely reframes how we think about mental health. So instead of just treating symptoms with medication, we should be going to the root cause and looking at regenerating these glands.
Exactly. And here's a perfect example that affects millions of women: postpartum depression. Everyone talks about it like it's purely hormonal or emotional. But think about what actually happens during pregnancy. The baby is building its entire skeletal system. Where does it get the calcium from? The mother.
So the baby is literally pulling calcium from the mother's body.
Exactly. And if that mother already has a parathyroid weakness and can't utilize calcium efficiently, she becomes severely depleted by the end of pregnancy. Then the baby is born, and suddenly she's plunged into deep depression. Everyone calls it postpartum, gives her antidepressants, but no one thinks to look at her parathyroid or her calcium utilization.
That's a completely different way to look at it. So instead of antidepressants, she might just need to strengthen her parathyroid and maybe take some calcium supplements.
Strengthening the parathyroid, yes, but no to the calcium supplements. High doses of supplemental calcium can actually make things worse. I'll explain exactly why in part 2. The answer is always to address the root cause, not mask the symptom. Once all your glands are functioning properly, you experience life in a completely different way. More calm, more centered, more confident, less reactive, happier.
Very interesting. So let's talk about how to reverse these genetic weaknesses.
Like regenerating any cell, you must clean the sewer system, the lymphatic system around the cells. When you remove the toxins, mucus, and acids that are suffocating the cell can breathe again. This is what detoxification actually is. It's not some trendy cleanse. It's the body's natural process of removing obstruction so cells can function again. The body has an original blueprint it's always trying to return to. Dr. Robert Morse has documented cases of scoliosis straightening, bones healing, even complete spinal cord severations reconnecting after 10 years. When you create the right conditions, the body rebuilds itself.
Wait, spinal cord injuries reconnecting? That's supposed to be impossible.
That's what we've been told. But I've seen the documentation. The body's capacity to heal is far beyond what most people can imagine.
Really? Fascinating. So, how do we actually clean the lymphatic system around these cells in order for regeneration to occur?
Basically, fasting, fruits, and herbs. Fruits are astringent. They literally pull mucus and acids off the cell walls. And specific herbs target specific weaknesses. We'll get more into diet and herbs later.
Okay, I'm sure a lot of listeners right now are thinking, wait, did she just say fruits? Doesn't fruit have too much sugar?
And this is exactly the problem. There's a massive misunderstanding about fruit sugar. Simple sugars are actually the primary fuel source for our cells, but that's a big topic, so I'm saving it for part 2.
Okay, looking forward to that. So I think the big takeaway here is that we don't really have an excuse for not healing. It seems like it's actually in our control through our lifestyle choices. That's really empowering.
It really is, and that's the whole point. Once you understand how the body actually works, you realize you're not a victim of your genetics or your diagnosis. You have the power to change it.
Okay, and cleaning the lymphatic system seems to be the first step in changing this. So let's go deeper here. What does that actually look like? Like, how do we know if we are moving lymph? How do we know if we're filtering?
Okay, so conventional medicine will tell you that cellular waste from tissues filters through lymph nodes and returns the cleaned fluid to the bloodstream. This is very inaccurate. Think about it. Where exactly is that waste going if it's not leaving the body?
Right.
The truth is, it filters out through the kidneys in your urine. Now, I can't take credit for discovering this. Dr. Robert Morse was actually the first to make the connection between the lymphatic system and the kidneys. Once you start seeing heavy filtration in your urine, inflammation starts leaving the body. Symptoms subside. Your eyes get brighter. Brain fog goes away. You feel like a different person. I have personally experienced this.
Wow, you make that sound so simple.
Health is simple. You just need an understanding of basic chemistry and some anatomy and physiology to understand the optimal diet for our species.
Interesting. Let's talk about the optimal diet next, but right now I want to understand more about filtration. How do we actually see filtration in our urine? Like, what are we looking for?
Simply by peeing in a clear jar. You want to see clouds. You want to see mucus strands. You want to see white sediment settling at the bottom after it sits for a while. If your urine is completely clear, you're probably not filtering.
Wait, so clear urine isn't a good thing?
Well, think about it. If that waste isn't coming out of the body, where is it going? It's still inside you.
That's kind of gross, but yeah, logically it makes perfect sense. I guess you're not a fan of urine therapy.
God, no. Why would you drink your own waste?
Fair point. So we've been talking a lot about the lymphatic system, but is it just lymphatic waste we need to worry about?
No, it's all waste. The body actually has 2 main types of waste to deal with. Digestive waste, which is the byproduct of what you eat and don't absorb, and cellular waste, which comes from the metabolic processes of over 100 trillion cells. Think about that. Every single cell in your body produces waste. That's a lot of garbage to take out.
Right, so how does the body eliminate all that waste?
The body has 3 main pathways or exit doors: the kidneys, the skin, and the gastrointestinal tract or gut. If any of those pathways are blocked, the waste backs up and creates almost every symptom we know today.
As Hippocrates said some 2,500 years ago, all diseases begin in the gut. And now everyone's talking about the microbiome, gut-brain connection, probiotics. But it sounds like you're saying something different than what the mainstream is pushing.
Yes, I'm not talking about the microbiome or adding probiotics. No amount of probiotics is going to fix a GI tract that's clogged with mucoid plaque and lymphatic stagnation sitting between the cells. You have to clean it out first. The gut is connected to your entire body. When you were an embryo, the first 2 things that formed were your spinal cord and your gut tissue. That gut tissue became your entire gastrointestinal tract. It's the center of your body. If the hub fails, every organ and gland connected to it eventually fails.
I've never thought of the gut as the hub.
The colon actually has a reflex or electrical relationship to every organ in your body. For example, a toxic transverse colon, that's the top part, affects the brain. A toxic ascending colon on the right side affects the liver. You'll find all your genetic weaknesses reflected in the colon first, then in the connected organs and glands.
You mentioned mucoid plaque. What exactly is that?
Years of eating refined starches like bread and pasta, dairy and meat creates this rubbery, black, tar-like substance that plasters itself to the walls of your intestines.
That sounds disgusting.
It is, and it's doing two things. First, it's blocking the absorption of nutrients. So you could be eating the healthiest diet in the world and still be malnourished because the nutrients can't get through. Second, this sticky plaque becomes a breeding ground for parasites.
So, before thinking you're deficient in something, you might want to clean out the gut first.
Exactly. Make sure you're actually absorbing what you're eating.
I've actually heard of mucoid plaque, but I also read that it's just a byproduct of detox products like psyllium husk and charcoal, that it's not actually real.
Oh, it's very real. It comes out even when you're just on a juice fast without taking any supplements, usually around day 25 to 30 for most people. The body finally has enough energy and hydration to start releasing what it's been holding onto for years.
Interesting. So how do we know how backed up we are?
A healthy diet should create a bowel movement approximately 30 minutes after you eat. That's 2 to 3 times a day minimum.
3 times a day? I don't think I know anyone who goes that often.
Exactly. And that tells you how backed up most people are. I've known people who go 30 days without moving their bowels. If your bowels become sluggish, the food ferments and putrefies. You absorb those toxins and gases directly into your bloodstream. That's where headaches, brain fog, bloating, even heart arrhythmias can come from.
That makes sense.
A dirty colon becomes a cesspool that poisons everything: your blood, your lymph, your organs. You cannot regenerate your body if your sewer line is clogged. So before buying all your expensive supplements and trying to biohack your way to higher energy levels, just clean out the plaque, get the bowels moving, get your kidneys filtering, and watch your energy and mental clarity return.
Okay, so clean out the gut and get the lymphatic system moving. You also mentioned the skin as the third eliminatory pathway. Explain.
The skin is your largest organ, and it's also your largest eliminative organ. It's called your third kidney because it should eliminate each day as much waste as your kidneys, bowels, and lungs combined. Mucus, acids, gases, all coming out through the skin. So sweating is vital to eliminating this waste.
So, saunas are good then?
Traditional saunas, yes, but avoid infrared saunas at all costs. I know, infrared saunas are the latest health hack, but what no one really talks about is that it's like microwaving yourself. It's burning you from the inside out.
So my infrared sauna is basically a very expensive microwave with mood lighting.
That's one way to put it.
It's wild how many of these health hacks are actually doing the opposite. Okay, so you're saying all 3 exits need to be open: kidneys, colon, skin.
Exactly. Open the exits first and start pulling the waste out with fruits and herbs. Most people try to detox without opening the doors first, and they wonder why they feel so terrible.
That makes sense. So if my kidneys aren't filtering, how do I figure out why? Is there some kind of blood test that tells me if they are filtering?
It's much simpler than that and doesn't require tracking any biomarkers or blood tests. The most powerful diagnostic tool we have is free, and it's staring you in the face every morning.
Some kind of app?
Nope, it requires no technology, just your eyes.
My eyes?
Yes, the analysis of the iris is called Iridology. The late Dr. Bernard Jensen called it the master science. And I learned how to do it through one of the greatest healers of our time, Dr. Robert Morse. He's a naturopathic doctor who's been practicing for over 50 years and has helped thousands of people heal conditions that conventional medicine said were incurable. He completely changed my understanding of health.
Okay, I need you to explain this because I'm intrigued but also skeptical.
Let me tell you how I discovered it. So, for years, I had all these symptoms: fatigue, hair loss, digestive issues, skin problems, swelling in my face and legs, severe insomnia, brain fog, anxiety, blurry vision, and so much more.
That sounds exhausting. Did doctors have any answers?
I went to so many different doctors, got test after test, but no one could tell me why. They'd look at my blood work and say everything was normal. Then they'd hand me a prescription and send me on my way. And the most frustrating part was not knowing why this was happening to me. Then I came across Iridology and everything clicked.
What do you mean, clicked?
Iridology reveals your genetic strengths, your tissue weaknesses, and most importantly, the exact degree of toxicity backed up in your system. When I first looked into my own eyes with this understanding, all my mystery symptoms finally made sense. I could see exactly where my body was struggling and why.
Wait, so you're saying you can look at someone's eyes and see the root cause of their symptoms?
Yes, because it shows the state of your tissue and the fluids around it, which is pretty much what your body is made up of: cells and fluids. The iris, the colored part, is essentially a detailed map of your entire body. Every organ, every gland, every system has a corresponding location, and the condition of those tissues shows up in the fibers and colors.
That sounds like pseudoscience. How is that even possible?
Think about it. The eyes are an extension of the brain. They're connected to every part of your body through the nervous system. When there's weakness or congestion somewhere, it reflects in the iris. This isn't new age stuff. It's been practiced since the ancient Egyptians, and the first formal iris chart was developed by a Hungarian physician back in 1861.
So you're looking at both the fibers and the color? What does eye color actually tell you?
This is the best part. The color tells you the degree of lymphatic stagnation. There are really only two true eye colors: blue and brown. That's it. Everything else, the greens, the hazels, the mixed colors, that's lymphatic congestion changing the appearance. I've worked with many clients who thought they had hazel or brown eyes, when in fact they had blue eyes covered in chronic stagnation.
Hold on, so if I detox, my eyes could actually change color?
Yes, if you have true blue eyes underneath, the brown and yellow starts to clear. The blue begins to show through again. The fibers tighten back up. Your body literally shows you it's healing in real time.
What else can you see besides the lymphatic congestion?
So much. Specific organ weaknesses show up in corresponding areas of the iris, whether it's the heart, kidneys, pancreas, whatever. I can see the condition of the nervous system. Drug deposits show up too, like if someone took a lot of antibiotics as a kid, there's often this orange sulfur accumulation. Genetic weaknesses passed down through generations, even old injuries.
So basically, you're seeing someone's entire health history.
Exactly. And more importantly, I'm seeing where to focus. That's the power of this. It's not guessing. Once you identify the specific weaknesses, you can target them directly with herbs.
So how is using herbs different from taking supplements? Aren't you still just taking something to fix a problem?
Completely different. Supplements are isolated chemistry. You're taking a single compound, often synthetic, ripped out of context from the whole plant. Your body doesn't really know what to do with it. But herbs are whole plants with hundreds of synergistic compounds that work together. And here's the key: herbs are tissue specific. Certain herbs have an affinity for certain tissues. Juniper berry and corn silk go straight to the kidneys. Hawthorn berry targets a heart. Mullein works on the lungs. Nature designed it this way.
So it's like the herb knows where to go?
Exactly. The electromagnetic energy of the plant resonates with specific tissues in your body. You're not throwing random pills at symptoms. You're using nature's pharmacy to strengthen and regenerate specific weak tissues.
And because you can see exactly where the weakness is through the eyes, you know exactly what to target.
Right. No guessing. No theories. This is precision healing, using tools that nature has provided. You don't need million-dollar machines running endless tests and chasing numbers. The eyes have been called the windows to the soul, but they're also windows to your physical body.
So is it just herbal formulas? Once you know the root cause, what else does healing actually require?
Herbs are powerful, but they're only part of the equation. You can take all the kidney herbs in the world, but if you're still eating the foods that caused the congestion in the first place, you're just bailing water out of a sinking boat. The foundation of all of this is diet. What you put in your mouth every single day is either cleaning you out or clogging you up.
Okay, so what does that look like? Because everyone has a different opinion on what the ideal diet is. Keto, carnivore, vegan, bulletproof diet, blood type diet. It's overwhelming.
And isn't that strange? We're the only species on the planet confused about what to eat. Every other animal knows instinctively. A cow doesn't question whether it should try the carnivore diet. They just eat what they're designed to eat. But somehow, humans, the supposedly most intelligent species, are completely lost.
I never thought about it that way. Why do you think that is?
Because we've been conditioned away from our instincts. And we've done something no other species does. We cook our food. Every animal on this planet eats raw. Birds, fish, mammals, insects, all of them. We're the only ones who take living, electric, vibrant food and we destroy it with heat before we eat it. And we're also the sickest species on the planet. That's not a coincidence.
But we've been cooking for thousands of years. Isn't that just part of human evolution at this point?
Thousands of years is a blink of an eye in evolutionary terms. Our anatomy and physiology hasn't changed. We can actually measure the electromagnetic energy of food in units called angstroms. Fresh, raw fruits radiate 8,000 to 10,000 angstroms. Raw vegetables, 8,000 to 9,000. Cooked meats and processed foods, 0. When you cook food, you destroy its life force. You're eating dead food to try to sustain life. Heat changes chemistry. It doesn't just warm food up. It changes the molecular structure. The food becomes acid-forming and, in some cases, toxic.
So it's not just about losing nutrients, it's actually harmful. That's a hard sell for most people.
I'm not here to convince anyone. I'm just pointing out basic chemistry. Foods that are alkaline-forming in their raw state become acid-forming when cooked. Always observe nature. What do you think happens to wild animals when you give them cooked foods? Zookeepers learned years ago never to feed cooked foods to animals because it makes them sick and shortens their lifespan.
All right, the zoo thing is hard to argue with, but humans have thrived on cooked food for generations. My grandmother cooked everything and lived to 96.
Did she thrive or did she survive? There's a difference. What was her quality of life in those last decades? What I'm talking about is optimal health, not just longevity. We've normalized so many conditions in old age that aren't actually normal. Alzheimer's, arthritis, heart disease. We just accept them as inevitable. These conditions aren't caused by age. They're caused by decades of intoxication finally catching up. And these conditions can actually be reversed through detoxification.
Yeah, she did have pretty bad arthritis toward the end, and some memory issues. But yeah, we just assume it's old age and accept it.
Well, we don't need to accept it. These conditions can be reversed through detoxification.
Yeah, I'm starting to see that now. So what else does cooking do besides create acidity?
Cooking food also destroys the enzymes in your food, making your pancreas work overtime to produce enzymes. This exhausts the pancreas and robs the body of the metabolic energy needed to repair tissue and fight disease.
Is that why digestive enzymes are everywhere now?
Exactly. Another example of treatment-based thinking. Your body is intelligent. If you constantly supply it with digestive enzymes, your pancreas gets the signal that it doesn't need to produce them. It says, "Oh, we have plenty," and stops production. Over time, this leads to atrophy of the pancreas, and you'll be stuck taking them forever. Dr. Moores always says, you take them, your body quits making them. If you can't digest food properly, regenerate the pancreas. Don't suppress the problem with a pill.
So we're creating dependency instead of fixing the root cause. Again.
Exactly. Raw, living foods provide us with the enzymes, the hydration, the alkalinity, and the electrical energy required to clean the body and rebuild it at the cellular level. I could go on, but we'll save that for another episode.
Great, so add enzyme supplements to the pile of things I'm throwing out. What raw foods are we biologically suited for?
If you look at the actual design of the human body, it tells you exactly what we're supposed to eat. We're not carnivores. We're not even true omnivores. We're frugivores.
Frugivores, like fruit eaters?
Primarily fruit, but also tender greens, some vegetables. Let me break it down. Carnivores have short, smooth digestive tracts, so meat can pass through quickly before it putrefies. Their intestines are only about 3 times their body length. They have sharp claws for tearing flesh, and their jaws only move up and down for ripping. They also have highly acidic stomach acid, about 10 times stronger than ours, to break down raw meat and kill bacteria.
Okay, and humans?
Completely different design. Our intestines are 12 times our body length, long and sacculated with pouches designed for slow digestion of fiber-rich plant foods. Our stomach acid is much weaker. We have flat molars for grinding, not fangs for tearing. Our jaws move side to side like other herbivores and frugivores. We have hands designed for picking and peeling, not claws for killing. We sweat through our skin instead of panting like predators. And here's a big one. We have color vision, known as trichromacy, that is specifically tuned to identify ripe, colored fruit against green foliage.
So anatomically, we're built like fruit eaters. That's the first time I've heard it, and probably many of our listeners too. So we're more similar to primates like bonobos who eat primarily fruit?
Exactly. Our anatomy and physiology is more closely related to primates than any other species. Bonobos, gorillas, orangutans, the vast majority of their diet is raw fruit and vegetation, and they don't have our chronic diseases. No heart disease, no diabetes, no cancer epidemics. We're an alkaline species, and raw fruits and veggies are alkaline. Acid foods like animal protein, dairy, grains, legumes, stimulants, fermented foods, alcohol, they're just not compatible with our biology and are the root cause of so many symptoms.
Whoa, hold up. Fermented foods? Probiotics? Everyone, and I mean everyone, says kimchi and kombucha are like gut health superheroes. You're telling me they're actually bad?
I know, this is a big one to unlearn. The probiotic industry has done an amazing job convincing us we need to constantly reseed our gut, but it misunderstands how our gut flora actually works. Your bacterial populations are determined by what you eat.
So, you're saying we don't need to add good bacteria?
The real issue isn't a lack of bacteria, it's the toxic terrain they're living in. Bacteria are nature's cleanup crew. They feed on waste. If you have an overgrowth of bad bacteria, it's because you're feeding them the wrong foods. Clean up the environment with alkaline foods, and the good guys will move in all by themselves.
But aren't fermented foods supposed to help create that good environment?
They're actually making it worse. Look, let's be real about what fermentation is. It's controlled decay, like literally rotting, a dying process that breeds fungus.
Okay, when you put it that way, my $16 sauerkraut sounds less appealing.
Right? You're basically eating fungus, and that feeds fungal overgrowth like candida, which creates more acidity and inflammation. For actual vibrant health, you need vibrant living foods, not decomposing ones.
Right, I'm officially rethinking my entire pantry.
And that's just the beginning. In part 2, we're going after the most controversial topic: protein, supplements, and the most misunderstood food on the planet: fruit sugar.
I have a feeling you're about to destroy what's left of my biohacking routine.
Oh, I'm just getting started. See you in part 2. Thanks for spending this time with us. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe and join us as we explore natural healing and taking back control of your health.